get started since we're already 6 minutes late. First, for those of you that are maybe watching, it's your first time. I am Mary Jo Irmen, the author of the book Farming Without the Bank and Life Without the Bank, and I teach the infinite banking concept. So today we are going to talk about just clients that I've met with, what that looked like last week and the week before. I had a short week the week before, but what that all looked like, and hopefully that can help you relate to what's going on. Oh, yay, Gail. That's exciting. I love Tennessee. It's one of my favorite places. Okay, so the first clients I want to go over, I actually had two clients kind of in the same situation. Kinda, I guess. Sorta. Anyway, these guys they moved, they both had good jobs in town, and they moved from town out to the farm, and Dad bought another farm. So we've got multiple farms now. Dad bought another farm, and they stuck a whole bunch of money into the house to get it fixed up and make it livable. And guess who doesn't know if they're getting the house? Guess who doesn't know what they're getting? Yes, them. And Dad sounds like he is a bit of I don't want to say control freak, but a bit of a control freak. Because they have a direct beef business. And so she's going and doing farmers markets, and they're out of meat. But she has no idea when the next steer is going to get butchered, because nobody tells her. None of her business, even though she's sitting at the farmer's market selling the beef. And she said, we had a really great opportunity where we were really building this business, and then it's just tanked. People quit buying because we have no regularity to when we're going to be delivering, when we have stuff. I can't tell people when we're going to have stuff because nobody tells me. I tell them that we're out of things and they really don't care. And so it is frustrating to try to run something that way, much less, in my opinion, that would be super embarrassing. I would be frustrated. I would be embarrassed. I wouldn't go back because, frankly, you're not running a business. It's a half-assed operation. That's basically what you're running in that scenario. If you cannot have some sort of consistency, you got to plan for it. Now, I can understand butchers are busy, whatever. But when you're canceling butcher dates because you don't, for whatever reason, who knows why you canceled a butcher date, because you don't feel it necessary to tell anybody. Really? When the whole family is working that operation with you, not necessary. So they get to live there for free. They put money into the house, which is great, right? We're living there for free. They don't mind that. But if there's supposed to be some sort of partnership, if there's supposed to be something, then that needs to get outlined, and we don't wait years for that. That needs to get outlined. This is an example, and there's always two sides to every story here, right? But this is a good example of parents, a father in particular, because mom would have it all done already. But an example of not wanting to let go. You have raised those children. If you can't have a little bit of faith that they're doing the right thing, and you don't think that they're doing the right thing, then just say it's not going to work. But they have no idea what's going on with the books. They don't know anything, yet they're the ones that are supposed to take over. There's been no money exchanged. It's crazy. So it is really, in this situation, there needs to be some come to Jesus moment. We're either going to stay or we're going to leave, and we put money into the house, right? Because we put money into this house. But when Dad dies, when Mom and Dad die, if we have to buy this house from the brother, we're going to have to pay the money. Let's say that we put $30,000 into the house. Now he's going to want 15 because the value of the house went up, right? So not only do we put the 30 in, but then we get to pay him the 15 because the value of the house went up. That's crazy. At least give them the house. This is just a typical operation where Dad doesn't want to let go. And that doesn't mean you have to let go of everything. It doesn't mean that you can't take things back. Give it to the kids, give them some responsibility, and see how it works. For heaven's sakes, they're 40 years old. Pretty sure they should know what to do by now. And they're not financially ignorant. They have some debt, but it was from fixing up this house. They live on very little and they do a good job of it. But if we don't talk about it and we don't look at those things, how do we know? Okay. Good morning, Tracy. Good morning, Tom. Next guy was not a farmer. He works 2 jobs, does some they have like 10 head of cattle. So yes, he is farming. And so he's got 10 head of cattle for the kids, basically to show animals. His wife works a job. They have really good income. Between the 2 of them, we're looking at maybe $200,000 a year of income. But we also have a very large house payment. We just bought new vehicles. And so we have very large vehicle payments and no money in savings, right? We're not really, one has a pension, so they don't really get to decide. The other one has a 401k that they are contributing to, 6%. So decent, quite a bit of money going to a 401k, but we have nothing in savings, nothing. Because we've not beat Parkinson's law, right? All the money, any money that should be going to savings is probably going to buy show heifers, cows, steers, whatever they're buying there. Going to operate I think he had 15 acres, going to operate the farm, or we're putting it into brand new vehicles. And so we have to figure out, if we want to get ahead, we're going to have to meet Parkinson's law, or we're going to have to beat Parkinson's law. And so the wife is going to school right now. So the income is cut in half. Her income is cut in half. So when she gets out of school and she works full time, we're going to have to beat Parkinson's law and say, we're going to take this extra money that we did not have, and we are going to put it into a policy. In this scenario, my fear is, when she gets out of school and goes back full time, he's going to quit the second job, which he wants to, and I understand why. But we have all these payments. If we want to start a bank, we're going to have to do that somehow. And that's not by continuing to spend money. If we're going to continue to spend money, we need to figure out what is going to create the income for us to spend the money, right? We need the cash flow to go back in to keep that rolling. So great income, and I see this a lot. We have really good income, and we have brand new vehicles, and we have a brand new house, and we have a brand new boat, and a brand new camper, and a huge credit card bill, and then we want to start a bank. Whoa, we can't do any of that? Because I'm not going to add one more bill to your pile, because if you can't be an honest banker with what you have, are you going to be an honest banker when you start borrowing money from the policy and paying it back? That's a concern, a legitimate concern. This is not about spending money, right? It's about creating a banking system so that you have something to borrow against. And I like new vehicles too. Don't get me wrong. They're great, but they come with $800 payments a month, right? If we don't have the income, or we're already scraping by, do we really need that? And do we really need it right now? Another one that there's not going to be a lot to talk about here. Living at home, has 30 cows, money goes to dad, dad decides what to give him. No, doesn't work that way. While we were on the call, dad's like, oh, you get like 20,000 for your steers. Really? He said. We'll see if that happens. What does that tell me? He never knows. He never knows from year to year what he's going to get, Again, how are we supposed to start a policy when we don't know? Because $20,000 living at home, zero expenses, no credit card, no vehicle payment, that's a great amount of money. He could save that very young, right? But we have no idea. Not a clue what he's going to get. The only thing that he knew what he was going to get is he sold some heifers and he sold a bull. That was his. That he knew he was getting. But when you take calves to town and you sell them with dad and dad gets the check, why isn't that separated at the sale barn? We're going to run these through. X percentage goes to the kid. X percentage goes to dad. Nobody has to be worried about it. I understand he's living there. I understand he's working there. But when we're over 20 years old, we need to have some income, right? Because then if we have to ask for our own money, what kind of business partnership is that? Because ultimately you are in a partnership. He is over 20 years old. Give up the control, Dad. We have to start treating our kids like adults if we want them to act like adults. Okay? So crazy that I had 2 of these in a week, because a lot of times, I mean, I do work with a lot of people that have estate planning and dad is handing everything over, and it's absolutely fantastic. I see that a lot. And typically I see that more than not because people that come to me are already progressive thinkers. So that changes things. But these 2 this week were trying my patience. That's what they were doing, trying my patience. Oh, the German passion came out in a couple of those meetings. All right, next one. This was a good meeting. They do nothing with farming, but they have multiple businesses. So they have 3 businesses and rental properties. So one business the son owns with them, another business the brother owns, another business they own, and then the rental properties they own, right? Or maybe the third was rental properties. Let me think. 2 business, they have the rental properties is a third. So that they own together. All right. So they do not have insurance on the son, which is, they need to have, the business needs to own insurance on every person within the business. Okay. So they need to have insurance on the son that's a bit partner in one business. They need to have insurance on the brother that is a partner in the other business. And these 2 owners are life insurance licensed, but they sell insurance for a company that only sells term insurance. So he said, this is going to be a hard sell to get insurance on my brother whole life because we've always told him to buy term insurance. I said, it's not a hard sell. It's as easy as an explanation of, we're going to be partners. You're going to live past 65 most likely, and we need to have insurance because you're going for your whole life. Not that you become uninsurable at 60 and now we have insurance on you only till 65, right? I've seen this happen. We need to have insurance now that goes our whole life. The other thing that was crazy to me, and I don't know, their accountant they said their accountant is awesome and she spends a lot of time with them, but not accountants. Oh, y'all know, if you've been listening to me, I will beat up on an accountant before I will beat up on a banker. Because I can understand the banker's viewpoint, but I cannot understand a lazy accountant. I just can't. It's your freaking job. Do your job and advise your clients. So I asked them for their profit and loss. I wanted to see what their expenses are and what their income is. They have like no profit in this company. None. I said, what is your payroll? Oh, well, I'm taking $94,000 a year out of this business, and I'm taking $94,000 a year out of this business, and my son is getting $94,000 a year. You are taking $180,000 a year in payroll between the 2 of you. I said, are you a S Corp? Yep. then why are you taking $94,000 a year as payroll? As an S Corp, ask your accountant. They should know. You can take a smaller payroll because you don't know what you're going to make as a business every year. You can take a smaller payroll. They could pay themselves $50,000 a year, and then they could take a distribution of $40,000 a year. That distribution is only taxed federal and state. No Social Security, no Medicare, you're going to save 14%. If your company is making a profit, there is no reason you should be taking massive amounts of payroll unless it's justifiable. They would save, just one of them would save $14,000 in taxes. However I figured it, I don't remember how I figured it. Talk to your accountant. If your accountant is not suggesting these things, then you need to either look for a new accountant that's not just a paper pusher and a tax preparer, okay? Because some accountants are just tax preparers. You need to be listening to blogs or podcasts. I was listening to one this morning, and I have found that I really, really like these guys. They are Anderson Business Advisors. Episode 150 is what I was listening to this morning. I'm not done with it. They are talking about setting up an LLC, talking about deducting home office stuff. Good stuff that I didn't know because my accountant is a really good tax preparer. And so I am out because I've yet to find a good accountant that actually understands a lot of this stuff, that has the knowledge to say, hey, Mary Jo, why don't you do this or this or this, right? And I may have found one, but there's some stuff I learned today that he did not tell me either. And so it is our job, because 99% of the accountants out there are tax preparers. It is our job to learn what we can to take as deductions. Why are we set up as an S Corp? Right? An LLC does nothing for us tax-wise. Absolutely nothing. All an LLC does is protect that entity from you being sued personally, right? But it does nothing to help us on taxes. That's why we have to have the S Corp, the Corp, the C Corp, whatever. And that is the accounting side. The legal side is the LLC, the LLP. Are we going to do a partnership? Or what are we doing on that side? That's legal. How it gets taxed is the accountant side. They go hand in hand, but one does not know the other. So you should be talking to both people in that scenario. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy that he's taking $180,000 out of two businesses as payroll and rental income. And any income that they got from rent goes right back in to buy more properties, to fix stuff up. So they're not making a whole lot of money there, which is great. Now they got some deductions, right? But at the end of the day, they're still making, and that's not even the wife's income. Accountants. Okay. They also want to sell their house to their son. But guess what? Because he's been in business for a year, they're not going to give him a loan. I said, well, why don't you just finance him then? You can finance him, charge him some interest. Who cares if he pays you 7% interest? What does that matter? It all goes back to his estate. He shouldn't care, right? So their son needs to get started as well, but the business needs to own policies on all the owners of the business and all the key men. Okay, another one that they are not farming. She is a horse trainer and she manages a property for a lady, basically manages her horses and does some stuff with the cattle. And he is a carpenter and he is flipping houses with his father-in-law. Here's the thing. The father-in-law is buying the houses and then he gets some of the profit and he gets paid per hour. Pretty decent deal. They also have rental properties. They are living They get free housing for her job. They are beating Parkinson's law the best I've probably ever seen. Amazing. Because they're living there for free. They want to have their own place. But he says, if my place cannot make me cash flow and pay for itself, I'm not buying it. Love it. I love it. If you're going to buy a place, it should pay for itself. It should not be a, oh my gosh, the word escaped me. It should not be an expense. Okay. If you are buying a farm, the farm should pay for itself. If you're going to buy a home, how can that home pay for itself? If it can't, we better have other things that can pay for it. So they have 2 rental properties that they bought, and granted, he's a carpenter. Fantastic. So he fixed them up, he's renting them out. And then they live in a part of the country where there is lots of tourism. And so they have a VRBO, like an Airbnb, a vacation rental home. They are making $40,000 a year off of this rental home. $40,000 a year. They are making great cash flow. They want to buy more rental properties. The farm that they want to buy needs to create cash flow. It's fantastic. And then they have to set themselves up because they're going to inherit like 7 to 9 rental properties from mom and dad. Okay. They're also going to inherit some land from dad that is going to be in a state where land is ridiculously priced. So are they going to sell it? Are they going to rent it? And we hadn't even got to both sides of the family. So they have a lot going on. Here's another big thing for them. No children. They don't have any kids. But they already know that their big thing was, how do we help our nieces and nephews? Our nephews are going to want to farm. How do we help them do that? Because dad is sick. What if he passes away? How do we help them do that? And here is my advice. I come across this a lot. That we're farming our uncle's land and he's never been married and he doesn't have children. We're farming our aunt and uncle's land and they have never had any children. We don't know if we're going to get anything, but we don't really know who else they're going to leave it to. Are they going to leave it to us because we're renting the land? Are they going to leave it to all of the nieces and nephews? We're not sure. Here's some advice, you people with no children. Talk to those nieces and nephews. And that's what I told these guys. Talk to the nieces and nephews and let them know what you plan to do. Let them know that they're going to get this death benefit. Let them know that you will help them and you will lend them money. You will go into partnership with them, whatever. But sit them down and tell them what's going to happen so they have an idea of how to plan. Just because they are not your children does not mean that you can't have that conversation with them. Because if you're helping them anyway, they are wondering, well, what's going to happen when they die? Because it's a normal question, right? So make sure you have those conversations. It doesn't matter that they're not your flesh and blood, right? You're going to leave them money. They're working with you, whatever, in whatever capacity. Let them know this is what we've done with our money. This is what we expect you to do with your money. And we want you to learn this system. We want you to understand infinite banking because we're going to be passing off all these death benefit dollars. Okay. Very, very important. Good morning, Michael. Let me see. Those two had a lot going on. Oh, they did not have their rental property set up as an LLC. Neither did the client before that I talked about. And so here's the thing. If you have rental properties, this is my experience from multiple people that I've talked to. You can either put all those rental properties under one LLC, or you can set up a different LLC for every rental property. So if you get sued, they're only suing one entity, right? If every property is in its own, they can't take all of them. These two didn't have anything set up for LLCs, nothing. You're risking everything to be lost personally. Set up your LLCs and then keep your board minutes and keep all that stuff that you're supposed to, because if you don't, you may not be recognized as an LLC. So make sure you're doing that stuff. Make sure you're setting those up. Don't just have 10 rental properties and have a sole proprietorship. That's asking for trouble. That's asking to lose your own house. Let's not do that. Okay, another one. She has a really good off the farm job, which is basically paying for the farm. And so the farm needs to pay for itself. So when I talked to them, they did not know anything about regenerative agriculture, rotational grazing. For them, it was just really giving her some ideas of how can the farm actually generate income. Because she's saying, hey, I'm not going to do this forever. I am not going to work forever to support the farm. And so this farm needs to support itself. This is the exact same thing that was happening with that first case that I talked to you about, that dad is a control freak and wouldn't give the kids any information. Mom has been supporting that operation as well. And she is now like 67 years old, still supporting that operation, and it doesn't ever make any money. Well, we don't have to make money if we have a bunch of money coming from the other side, right? And for us to say, well, good thing that the farm lost money, so it offset your income. No. The farm needs to make money on its own. If it's not, you better be figuring out why. And so for her, it was just a matter of, can we do some rotational grazing? Because we can't afford any more land, can we run more cattle on there? Can we get rid of the fertilizer? Holy moly, her fertilizer bill was extremely high. Can we get rid of the cost of the fertilizer and the chemical by rotational grazing, by doing some regenerative agriculture stuff? She had no idea about any of that stuff. And so, and they also they raise rodeo stock. And so if we're going to raise rodeo stock, that's great. If we're just going to sell the breeding stock, okay, no big deal. But if we are actually raising that stock and then delivering that stock to a rodeo where somebody could be killed by that animal, and that could hold us liable for some crazy reason, then we need to have an LLC own those animals that we're going to use at the rodeo. Okay, we always have to be thinking of the liability portion of that. But she's got some really good income to start a policy with, really good income. We just have to make the farm and the ranch profitable because it needs to sustain itself. But a very fun conversation to have with them and just teach them about some new things that they've not come across. In today's world, it always surprises me when people do not know what regenerative agriculture is, and they've not heard of that or looked into it, because it's very prominent right now. It's still not completely known, but it's very prominent right now. And especially for your smaller operations, that is where most of them are going, because the fertilizer and the chemical bills are huge. Huge. Can we get rid of those? That's going to add a lot of money. Hey, Jarrett. I would love to talk to you. If you do not, just private message me if you don't have the link to my calendar, if you've read the book. If you've not read the book, just go grab the book and then we can visit. All right. The last client I had this was a kind of a fun conversation, because she said, oh, Mary Jo, I was in the financial world for years and years and years. I worked for a company that did annuities and life insurance and 401ks and IRAs and Roths and all that good stuff. And she's like, I had no idea this even existed. And she totally understood. She understood the book, but she said it took me months. I would have to read some, put it down, think about it. Listen to some podcasts, put it down, think about it, right? For it to make sense, because it's going to take some time to rewire our brain into the thought process that we were in. Put your money in the market, put it at risk, take the taxes later. Oh, it's a great idea to save taxes today. All those things change over time, right? And it's just a bunch of noise that says you take the risk, I'm just going to get the reward. And so that was a good conversation to have. And for her too, it's just about starting really small. She just got divorced and had a whole lot of debt that had to be paid off, and she did that, and she did a great job of it. So it's kind of a matter of starting over. But the fact that she's seen the light, that was amazing. Okay, that was my last one. But last week, so I didn't do a Facebook Live last week because I was hanging with some colleagues in Wyoming, and we were just talking shop, and it was amazing, and I loved it. But one of my colleagues shared how he's buying new cars every 2 years, and I don't know why I hadn't thought of that, but we have to ask. And he asked the question, how can I be driving a new car all the time? And this is how he does it. He buys a new vehicle, and he pays it off in 2 years. Okay? And you don't necessarily need a new vehicle. I mean, you could do this to upgrade, I suppose. But he pays it off in 2 years. Then he has that vehicle. He does not trade it. He sells it, and owner finances it. And for him, it was to family members. Obviously, you're playing banker now, so you want to do it, somebody that's going to pay. So he owner finances it. And in his example, they make a payment of $600 a month. So they're paying him $600 a month, and he goes and buys a new vehicle, and he's paying $800 a month. So out of pocket, it's only $200, right? And he's on his second new vehicle. Drives that for 2 years. Owner finances that. So now he sells it, gets $600 a month. Now he's making $1,200 a month, and his third vehicle he's paying $800 a month on. Who is paying for his third vehicle? Somebody else. By the time he's got 3 vehicles, he's 3 vehicles in, he is still getting paid for the first vehicle because he's financing it 6 years, because everybody wants to finance vehicles 6 years. So he's financing it for 6 years. So he's getting paid on 3 vehicles when he buys his 4th one. So if you want new vehicles, great, fantastic. Go get a new vehicle. But when you want the next new vehicle, can we owner finance somebody else so that we are making money buying vehicles? I say, yes, go for it. We have to start asking, how can I do things, instead of, oh, we just can't do that. We can't do that here. It's not possible. No, how can I do those things? So this was exciting to me. Now, it may not be as exciting to find somebody to buy it, right? He comes from a very large family. I don't. And so I don't know, most people, and he's financing them at 5%. But he might have family members that, they are business owners, and they just don't have the credit, or the bank is saying, no, you're too risky. You're a business owner. I don't want to lend you any money. And in those situations, he's finding somebody to buy those. He's got 5 people lined up for his next vehicle. That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. And then we can be buying new vehicles all the time. You can do that with anything. I don't care what it is. But now when you lend money to somebody else, or they have to pay you, you start asking questions like the bank, right? Now you know what it's like to be a banker and why they ask stupid questions, because you're probably going to have those same stupid questions. as much as I beat up on banks, there's a reason that they do what they do. It's annoying, but there's a reason that they do it. Okay. That's all I got for today. That's it. If you guys have questions, comments, whatever, let me know. Message me here. Email me at maryjo@withoutthebank. If you have not gotten any of these books, go to farmingwithoutthebank.com and grab those there. Or you could go to withoutthebank.com and you could grab them there. Today's podcast is very good. So if you have not listened to my podcast, you're going to want to go to farmingwithoutthebank.com or farming in your podcast app. I have Farming Without the Bank podcast and I have a Without the Bank podcast. Today they are one and the same. So it doesn't matter which one you listen to, they're both the same. So go ahead, listen to that very important podcast today on really a true example of creating generational wealth. So go there, listen to that. But otherwise, I'm done, folks. If you need me, you know where to find me. Have a good week. Talk to you next week.